Hello, this is Dawn Doherty, and welcome to session 2 of the Executive Self-Mastery series. And session 2 is all about awareness. What we're going to review today is the wisdom around removing the blocks to success. And we'll go and we'll look at some of the concepts we went through last week, so we can go right into this topic and we can go right to some practical techniques, some actionable items that you can take advantage of so you can begin living in a more powerful way and showing up more successfully in your life, in your business. So let's get started right away. And those of you who have been with me know that I love to use my whiteboard. So I'm going to go right to my whiteboard here. And I'm also going to make sure that we're recording, and we are. And these will be amazing lessons for you to go back to and anchor everything that you're listening to today. So know that if you missed something, you can always go back to it. So as I said, today is session 2 about awareness. And it's about removing the blocks to success. My name is Dawn Doherty. I'm an executive coach and a personal development expert. And I am on a mission to help you live a purposeful life. And what does that mean, purposeful life? That means instead of being where most of us are, which is in phase 1, which is I'm on the hamster wheel, I'm struggling, I believe that something on the outside of me is going to make me happy, like more money, weighing less, perhaps, finding my soulmate. All of these things that we've been conditioned to believe, that these projections from other people that we have taken on as truths. So what we do in moving to a more powerful way of living is we recognize that all these agreements that we've been living by are actually false and they're lies. And what is our opportunity? It's to step into what's true. And the gateway to going over to a self-directed way of living, self-directed, where every day I am living in peace. Every day, miracles are showing up for me. I was with someone last night and we were talking about the power of this work. And this work is about cleansing. This work is about purifying yourself, because just as, when you have glasses, if these glasses have dirt on them, then I'm not going to see what's in front of me. So most of us live in a way where we're absolutely distracted, and there are miracles and opportunities happening around us daily. Yet because we haven't gone through this awareness work, this 90-day consciousness boot camp that I refer to, we miss out on the miracles that are presented to us. Miracles are our birthright. That's what we're told in A Course in Miracles. And what our opportunity is to do this work that I'm taking you all through. So the gateway to this phase 2, when we start understanding what's true, is when we ask the 3 following questions. And we talked about this last week, which is, who am I? Which is, why am I here? And what is my purpose? And for so many of us, these are haunting questions because we don't know the answers of them, or we think, oh, this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer. And here is the one answer. And you can see this in so much that's out there in self-help, spirituality. I've spent 7 years studying all of the religions, all of the spiritual platforms that are out there. I am a dedicated student to A Course in Miracles, and here is what I know is true because I'm living it. Who am I? I am unlimited. I am powerful. When I walk through my day aligned with this truth, miracles pop up for me in my field of experience. I expect them. They're not even surprises to me anymore. You know, something happened for me yesterday where I was thinking of someone, and 3 hours later, I saw them and I was able to have a conversation with them where they were already, you know, a couple of days into what I was going to present to them. So this is what's true. When we align with the fact of I am unlimited and powerful, we are living in our truth. So that's who we are. Why we're here is to gain appreciation for the fact that we are unlimited and powerful. And the best way for us to gain appreciation for something is for us to take ourselves out of it, right? So I wanted to gain more appreciation for, let's say, my home or for my relationship, then I would take myself out of it. So when I come back to it, I would understand the richness of it. I would experience the richness of it. So the reason why we came here was to appreciate the unlimited and powerful truth of who we are. So our purpose is to move from how we came into this world, which is very needy. In fact, we come into this existence as a baby. What form of who we are is more needier than a very delicate baby? So we come into this world in a very small way, and we're on a journey in this existence to uncover our expanded self. And every step along the way, we have an opportunity to reclaim more of our personal power by looking at the discomfort we scattered for ourselves in the different times of our lives with the different people that we come up against, so we can be with that discomfort and instead of pushing it away, process it so we can claim more personal power. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because the more discomfort I'm holding on to, the more weight we carry around, spiritual weight. And when we're weighted down, the longer we're going to wait to experience miracles. And weight equals weight. I once heard Carolyn Mace use this formula, and I really love it. And when I work with clients, it really brings home the reason why I want to do this work, the reason why I want to understand, okay, what is showing up for me? What are the stories I am still living that have me weighted down or encumbered versus being powerful and light and experiencing miracles on a daily basis. And that's really the gist of what we're going to go into today. So that was the review. One more thing I'd like to review based on what we talked about in our first call. So if you remember, I drew this picture. I'm not the best artist in the world. Here's the movie. Here is what we experience on a daily basis. This is the dream of my life of form. When I wake up in the morning until the time I go to bed, this is the illusion. This is the hologram. This is actually the movie that I get to be the director and producer for. So many of us believe that life happens to us. I introduced the universal principle last week that the way we experience ourselves is the way we experience our world. So if I look in the mirror and I see someone who is downtrodden or defeated, I'm going to experience a very defeating day. Those days are going to be the days that I go into my car and I don't find a parking space, or, you know, the flight isn't going to come on time for me. And the more I see myself and the truth of who I am, the more I claim responsibility for everything that's happening around me, the more purified I become and the more miracles I experience in my life and my business. So this is very, very practical. And we're going to go into this in a deeper way today. So my movie Do I want to be watching a movie that is pleasant, or do I want to watch a movie that is about survival? You know, I'll joke with clients, do you live an American in Paris, or do you live Rambo? It's your choice. And that's what I'm going to show you, how to make those choices. So that's the movie. So that's element 3. Element number 2 is, well, before we get that movie up on the screen, right, we need either the digital version of it or the actual film, right? We need the script. So this is what we call intention. And in our next session, I'm going to take you through how to get very clear and laser sharp on what it is you want to bring into your life. So this is a key element, intention, in producing that movie. So the first thing, and what we're going to talk about today is, well, I need a projector, right, that will imbue this film that actually projects the movie onto the screen, right? So I have my movie, I have my script, and today we're going to focus on this, which is the power. And there are 3 places where our power comes from, our personal power, that we're going to build that imbues the script, that projects the movie. So as we walk through this life that we came to, this journey to uncover unpleasant things that we can work through, and I'm going to give you strategies on how to work through this discomfort today, so we can put more personal power into our backpack, so we can emerge as our expanded self. And we can realize why we've come here. And then that inspires the collective. And that is how we raise up this world. There is no other way. For me to coerce you, or for me to jump into your movie, your virtual reality, and shake that up is absolute insanity. So what we want to do is understand, okay, how do I increase the power of this projector? How do I increase my personal power? And we're going to talk about that today. So there are 3 areas. Last week, we went through aligning ourselves with universal principles. So remember, we went through 10 of them last week. There's certainly more. And when you go through this course, when you listen to that recording and you do the worksheets associated, you will anchor your relationship with these universal principles. When you live your life every day knowing that if it's happening in front of me, it's inside of me, then you take full responsibility for everything that comes into your fields of experience. It's never anybody else's fault. It's never a hardship that comes upon you. It's always something that I've ordered. It's the curriculum that I set up for myself before I came here, so I can have a fruitful experience on this plane as I go through my business, as I go through my life. So that's the first piece. The second piece is consciousness. What am I doing? What is my consciousness practice? What am I engaging in on a daily basis that is allowing me to shut off the brain so I can be guided by my expanded self, who is beside me every day, pointing out what's next on this journey for me, as opposed to listening to the thinking, which is different than thoughts. Thoughts come to us through guidance. Thinking is ego. Ego having us believe that we have to come up with the answer. So a consciousness practice that I do is called transcendental meditation. And I meditate 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And that's how I shut this off. And I go to the field of potentiality, and so much is cleared for me. And every single day I'm building more and more brain metabolism. The third piece for building our personal power and what we're going to speak about today is what I said earlier. How do we release the weight so we reduce the amount of time that we need to wait to experience life and business at its fullest? And I'm going to speak to you today about two areas that will complete the understanding of this fourth piece. One is going to be the 4 gates to greatness. And I'll take you through that right away. And after that, after you understand your blind spots and how you show up, we're going to go through some techniques for what I call dissolving the discomfort so we can reclaim our personal power. So before we dive into that, what I'd like to do, I know we have a bunch of people here with us who are really, really a part of this whole practice. And I have a client that I'm going to bring on as a panelist with me here. Hello, and I'm going to make sure I unmute you. So Britt, what we just went through, this whole process of being the director, being the producer of the experience, so we have a pleasant day as we reclaim more and more personal power. What's your, anything you'd like to add to this?
Well, when I know that I've created what's in front of me and it's there to potentially teach me, then I don't hold myself as a victim. I'm holding myself as my expanded self of what I'm needing to learn, and I'm going through life peacefully. And I just feel better every day. I'm happy. And that's really what the work is teaching me.
And is there anything more valuable than having sustainable happiness?
No, sustainable happiness is where it's at. It's beautiful.
There's no better currency because everything stems from that. When I'm happy, I meet more people and I do more business. When I'm happy, I meet healthy people to have relationships with, and there's no drama.
That's right. And the miracles do show up just out of the blue. You'll be going about your life and something unexpected just happens. And it's fun.
Yeah, and that's the purification process from miracles. Miracles are our birthright. We've just convinced ourselves that it needs to be hard or complex for us to have. And it is so simple, yet the difficult thing is for us to cast off all of the projections, all of the things we were taught to believe. So today we're going to start a conversation with ourselves with what that's all about. So thank you so much for sharing that. Sure. And we're going to get right into what I shared with you earlier, those two areas. And the first thing is going to be the 4 gates to greatness. So we'll go right to that screen. Great. So the 4 gates to greatness. These are the 4 areas. Let me see. There we go. To greatness. Oops. These are the 4 areas that once we have awareness around these areas, once we understand how we personally show up in these areas, and once we execute on the strategy to process what's holding us back as opposed to living with it, then we will step into more and more miracles, more opportunity, more business, more healthy relationships. So the first area is what we refer to as the victim. So the gate here is, how can I understand how I listen to my inner critic as opposed to being with what's true? So when I work with clients, we do an assessment and we get a sense of the story they're still carrying around, which actually is this ego that they've created for them, a form of ego that whispers in their ear something that keeps them in this holding pattern of living as a victim, as opposed to releasing those old thoughts and processing them and stepping into their personal power. So for instance, this can be something where you continually, and this happens to many of my clients, repeat something in your head, a mistake that you've made, right? And you keep going back there and replaying the movie over and over and over again, and maybe beating yourself up and analyzing, how can I have done this differently? And then all of a sudden you look at your watch and you realize for the past 2 hours, you've been in a funk. For some people, it's 2 days. I've had clients who have received threatening emails, and instead of going through the process, I will now show you because they just learned it, they will stay in a funk for 2 days and believe that they are maybe, you know, what this person has said they are. And you know, anytime somebody attacks us, it's because they are insecure. It's not because this is what we are. So when we get to that place, when we're with that victim, and maybe the voice in your head says, you know, you'll never get this right. You'll never get this right. Or, you know, perhaps it's, I'm not ready to do this level of work, right? What we want to do is we want to stop that in its tracks. So one of the strategies that coincides with this particular gate to greatness is a strategy that I call, it's called from repeat to reframe. So what I want for you to do right now is think about a situation that has happened for you over the past week, maybe something that was very uncomfortable, where you found yourself, your gremlin, showing up, and maybe, you know, her name is Repeat Patty. So Repeat Patty comes up and she says, Dawn, there you did it again. This is something that you're never going to get it right. So in the repeat to reframe process, the first thing we want to do is identify the thought. And the thought is what comes before any perspective shift. The thought becomes things. What we focus on expands. So when I live with that thought, Dawn, you're never going to get it right, I'm going to experience more situations where I don't get it right. The way I see myself is the way I experience my world. So that's the first thing. That's the thought. That's the heavy thought. The second piece is the emotion. So when I'm thinking, Dawn, you're never going to get it right, it's like a finger, like if you could see, I'm putting fingers in my side here. And why don't you do that? Why don't you do that right now and feel that? So when we're feeling that, I'm not very energized to go out into the world and spread my message. I'm not very energized to do all the things that I knew, the inspired forward motion that is going to further my experience in my business, further my experience in my mission. So old thought leads to old emotion, leads to old action. And at this level 1 of victim, that action is lethargy. That action is just being tired and feeling defeated. So here's the process. The first thing is, I always say it's a big leap to go from old thought to new thought. And maybe the new thought is, when I live intentionally, all the right people show up for me. When I live intentionally, all the right circumstances unfold for me. That's the new thought from Dawn, you're never going to get it right. But for me to leap from old thought to this new thought, I love working with my clients on a strategy, so a jumping point strategy, a jumping point strategy. So what I do with my clients is I identify, okay, what are things that you can do when you feel yourself beating yourself up to go to and give yourself some self-love. Clients that have children tell me, I go and find my kids and I have a dance party. For me, it's I go for a massage or a manicure, or I'll go and treat myself to a coffee or something that lifts my spirits, that just allows me to do something gently, that takes me to a place of happiness, perhaps taking my dog out for a walk. And then when I can shift my state, and Tony Robbins talks about this whole awareness about shifting your state. So then what I am now, I go from old thoughts, which is, you never get it right. You never get it right. To my go-to jumping point strategy, which allows me to change my state. So my spirits are uplifted. I'm not beating myself up. So then it's easy for me to jump to this new thought. And this new thought is an affirmation. Affirmations are extremely powerful. So when I work with Dawn and John's program, it's about having intention. And I teach you how to set up an intentional system for yourself. So my new thought is, when I live intentionally, miracles show up for me. Wow, that feels good. So that thought takes me to a place of, and just sitting with that right now in my chest, it's fluttering. That feels so good. When I live intentionally, when I wake up and I am grateful and show appreciation, when I extend my gift to everybody I see, miracles show up for me. That feels so good. And you know what the action that comes from that is? I want to smile when I walk out my door. I want to extend my gift. And that allows me to go from that state of feeling defeated to one where I'm taking inspired forward motion. So that's the first gate, number one, which is we're going from victim to victory here. So powerful. And that is really where 80% of the work, the 80% of the results are. If you take the 20% work that gives you 80% of the results, is really understanding where you feel uneasy, what that voice is, go to that strategy, align with that affirmation, and live that. So the second gateway is what I call trust. And trust is, where can I live more certain and being really aware of what frustrates me, what strikes fear in me. And many times it's a feeling of insecurity, and it's a feeling of, you know what, it's a dog-eat-dog world. If you have, there are 8 pieces of the pie, and if you have 6 pieces, there are only 2 left for me. So it's a feeling of scarcity. And that's level 2. I'm so caught up in everybody else's business. I'm so caught up in the weather, the politics, the interest rates, that I am not aligned with what's true, which is me. And the work I take clients through to work through this gateway is something that I learned through Byron Katie. she has something called The Work. And this is a process where we really get with what's true. So the truth is there are three worlds. There's my world, there's your world, and there's the world of experience. So my world is what's true, right? It's my moving through discomfort to claim more personal power. It's my getting intentional so I get to direct and produce my movie. Your world is your world. It's your version of that. Remember earlier I said, when I step out of my movie and I try to coerce or change you so I can become happier, that has me stepping away from myself and really going through an insane exercise because I can't coerce you because your movie is your movie. So it's a waste of time and it takes me out of what's true, which is my world. The same thing happens when I go to the world of experience. So if I spend hours and hours and hours thinking about the election or worrying about interest rates and maybe, you know, going through the news and seeing what's wrong with the world, then I take myself energetically to a place where I'm wasting time and I'm certainly not building personal power. So with trust, this is where I take clients to an awareness about where they waste time trying to change other people. A big part of this is my I'll be happy when craziness. So I have clients write that list. Where are you still believing that you'll be happy when you lose 5 pounds? You'll be happy when you move to New York. You'll be happy when you get, you know, a rich partner. This robs us of what's true. And we actually do a ceremony where we write that list and we set fire to it because I'll be happy when is robbing us of what's true. So that's the second gate to greatness. And the strategy is what we're just doing here, understanding the three worlds and really gaining awareness of this illusion and how to release it. So that's the second gateway. Moving right along, whoops, I think I skipped a page there. The third gateway is all about forgiveness. It's all about where I am rationalizing, staying with what I know, right? One of my favorite things is from Albert Einstein, and he says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So people who have energy here are in that marriage for 20 years because they've told themselves that they don't, you know, it's not going to be good for the kids for them to break up, or it's going to be a financial nightmare for them to unravel their marriage, or they're in jobs and going through the motions because they have a fear that they're just not going to make it if they go out on their own. And I see this time and time again. I was with a client yesterday who has big level 3 energy, and it's staying with what you know at the expense of what is possible. And I want to help you move through this craziness. I want for you to live what's possible, which is extreme happiness, which is miracles every day. So here's how we work through this level. The first thing I have clients identify is something that is a pet peeve that gets under their skin. I have them identify perhaps people that they're still holding a grudge with, or a situation that they just go back to time and time again, because all of this is robbing them of being in the present moment. because when we're in the present moment, it's the only thing that's real. And many of us do the following. We go back to a past situation and we use that to judge a person who is in our present moment, or a decision or a situation in our present moment. We go back to this past situation and we interpret the present so we can prevent a future outcome. And that's called future tripping. So what I am shining a light on here is this insanity that most of us do. So let's say you are someone who, maybe did something bad to me 2 years ago. You hurt my feelings, or you threw a drink in my face at a party 2 years ago. So if I see you now, what I'm going to do is go immediately back to that time when you threw a drink in my face, and instead of experiencing you as you are now, which is not as you were 2 years ago, I'm going to experience you as you were in the past, so I could prevent a future outcome, which is you disappointing me again. And that's going to rob me of experiencing you as you are now. Perhaps you have some good news for me, or perhaps you have an invitation to an event where I'm going to meet my next best client, or my next intimate partner. I am robbing myself of that by not forgiving you. So that's something that's a strategy. Another strategy is called what I call the 4 steps to unstuck. And it works so well with this level 3 of forgiveness. And it's inspired by a book that I love that's called Zero Limits. And we use a process called that uses Ho'oponopono. And this is a Hawaiian technique, ancient wisdom that has us purifying, releasing what we're holding on to so we can step into our expanded self, experience more miracles daily. So here's the process. And so step 1 would be to identify something that is something we can't release. So I'll think back to something a client shared with me. She set up this party, invited people. It was a reunion party. I think it was her high school reunion party. And there was a woman who showed up who was undermining her. So this whole undermining, this person is undermining me, comes up for a lot of clients. Perhaps it's someone you work with, that they're undermining your ability to lead. So what we want to do is we want to understand that if this person is showing up for us, remember we said if it is in front of us, it is inside of us. It is ours to cleanse and release. So that is the first step, claiming 100% responsibility. 100% responsibility for that unpleasant experience. If it's in front of me, it's inside of me. It is the perfect lesson that I placed into my field of experience so I can reclaim more personal power. That's step 1. Step 2 is forgiving. Forgiving myself for feeling heavy because I believe I'm being undermined by somebody else, and we know that that's not true. What is true is I've placed this in my field of experience so I can get stronger. Forgiving that other person and saying, Thank you for being in my movie. Thank you for showing up as the actor reciting the perfect script that's going to allow me to purify. It's going to allow me to dissolve discomfort so I can reclaim more personal power. So I forgive them, and then I forgive the situation. What's going on at that party, what's going on at that workplace, where I am feeling that something is happening to me. So that's the second piece. The third piece is, how can I see this differently? How can I see this differently? An example of this, I had a client who said, wow, the thing that gets me every day is I go on a bus to work and there are people speaking on their cell phone, and it gets under my skin. And by the time I get to my office, I am enraged. I am so anxiety ridden because I spent the past 30 minutes for people listening to loud music that I have to hear, or speaking loudly. So we went through this process, and when we got to step 3, I said, well, how can you see this differently? And she took a step back and she said, so if my pet peeve is it gets me upset that I have to listen to other people, perhaps it's because I don't feel like I'm being heard. And then we did a lot of work around communication and her stepping into a more powerful position when she worked with others to get her message heard. So that is a very big piece of this process, because it allows us to grow as leaders. It allows us to grow as people who are moving through what is holding us back. The fourth piece is the Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono practice, which really seals the experience. You know how we say amen after a prayer, or how we close a situation. The seal is the following. After this practice, we say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And what this does is not only are we releasing the remnants of any belief that we had that other people are affecting our inner peace, we're actually giving ourselves love. And this is a gratitude and an appreciation practice. And remember, what we focus on expands. So if I focus on appreciating myself and appreciating my ability to grow, I'm going to grow more, and that will expand. So this is a very, very powerful practice. And so many of us have such large energy in field number 3. So the fourth gate is where I am unconditional in the way I give, and how I can show up and be, so actually we want to be unconditional and understand where we are conditional. And conditional means that I give away my personal power to you, because if I do something nice for you and you don't acknowledge it, then I'm going to go into a place of beating myself up or not feeling good. And this comes to a truth that is emphasized in A Course in Miracles, and it actually is a passage that I studied last week, which was so powerful. And this is a practice that I want for you to consider. And here's how it goes. So what we want to understand is, when we give our gifts freely every day, what we're doing is we're inspiring. What we're doing is we're strengthening the gift, and we're strengthening our personal power. I'm here on this webinar with you because I'm strengthening my personal power by giving you the gift of this wisdom. And guess what? I haven't even checked. I'm not even sure how many people are on the screen, 10, 20, 30 of you. Perhaps there'll be 50, 100 of you that watch this recording. That is not anything that I care about in staying here over the next 60 minutes and being with you. I'm all about giving this gift. And that has me being with power. If I was concerned about, wow, was this a valuable hour that I spent? How many people am I going to touch? Then I'm giving my personal power away. So here's what I want for you to consider. I want for you to consider where in your life you are ascribing a role to anyone in your life. So think about your significant other, how they need to be for you to feel good about them. Think about your work colleagues. Think about your family, your sister, your brother, your mother, your children, how they have to be for you. And once we understand that, we can understand, okay, so here's an example. A client of mine was so upset because he went on vacation and that person he thought who was going to sign a listing agreement with him went with another broker. And he beat himself up and he said, what did I do wrong? I didn't make any mistakes. And he spent a day mulling this over because this was a conditional relationship. He invested in this person conditionally because he wanted the result to be this listing agreement. So what we're going to do is say, okay, that's the role I ascribe to you. And the reason why I'm upset is not because you didn't sign the listing agreement. It's because I ascribed that role to you. I'm going to release this. It's in the rear view mirror. And it's no longer relevant to my building power. I'm going to wish you well. And I'm going to be there and offer my best wishes and move forward. And that is so much more freeing. Rather than go to a place of beating ourselves up. Certainly we could always do something maybe more efficiently, and that's why you work with a coach like me. That's why you have accountability partners. With that said, when we are conscious around where we ascribe roles to people and we take 100% responsibility for how we feel as opposed to blaming and complaining. That's how we build the consciousness around this fourth gateway. This was such a powerful, powerful session and lesson, and I'm going to bring on my panelist here and kind of get a sense of, from a viewer's perspective, what's going on for you and some big takeaways. Isn't this beautiful how we were able to get very organized around the 4 gates to greatness, and we had a specific strategy assigned to each gate so we can build personal power when these limitations come up for us?
Most definitely. I think that, well, I know that going through each one of the 4 gates to greatness and applying the strategies for each one, it has released me and has given me the opportunity to be 100% responsible for my life. It makes my relationships better. It allows me to forgive myself and just live in the world and just wait for the miracles to happen. They show up. It's a beautiful thing.
Every day we wake up happier.
Yeah, every day the weight is lifted off of me, and I don't mean physical weight. I mean the weight that weighs your system down on a daily basis. The tiredness is going away. I don't feel heavy inside. I can actually go to a coffee shop and enjoy a cup of coffee with everybody that's in the area and I don't even know them, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. And instead of being weighed down by things that we can't control, which are, you know, these lies and stories that we've told ourselves that this person's responsible for the way I feel, right? Or if things were different for me, my life would be better. I can go to what's true, and I can stand in my power. I can stand in my certainty. I can stand in my confidence and be the biggest motivator, be the biggest inspiration for everybody out there. This is what leadership is. This is what sales is. This is what marketing is. Everything that we shared here is the basis for what's possible for us.
That's correct. And the truth is always true.
Yeah, the truth is always true. And share with people. I know you said to me, Britt, people are just coming into your field of experience and doing nice things for you that you never even planned for, right? People are giving you gifts.
Yeah, and today it was interesting. I never call my bank. I don't care what's going on with my bank necessarily. And they called me today and they said, you know, you have a high balance and we want to give you a higher interest rate. Is that all right? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Why wouldn't I do that? And it didn't cost me anything. So that was just one example. Yesterday, somebody brought me, I'm at a show. There's 29,000 people at this show. And somebody just out of the blue, they were just like, here, why don't you just have this? And it was a t-shirt. It said some happy thing on it. And they're just like, here, we want you to have this because you have a smile on your face. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. People just show up when it's unexpected.
Yeah, and you know, it's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Britt. We in the book, The Secret, and The Secret sort of was the first wisdom that I came across that started me on this journey that led to powerful wisdom, you know, to the point where I'm studying A Course in Miracles right now. And in The Secret, I remember there was a piece that talked about when you get aligned with this true way of living, you'll find checks coming to your mailbox, you'll find gifts being plugged into your field of experience, and just positive people and uplifting people and more business. And I'm telling you guys, this is the truth. So the last thing that I'm going to share with you as we move through is the following. Oops, I want for you to take a look at this. And I want you to know that I'm dedicated to guiding inspired professionals to execute on executive self-mastery. This 6-session series is about executive self-mastery and how I can go through my life and my business so I am more self-directed, so I realize more and I move through the expanded version of who I am, which is the reason why I'm here. And every single one of you are invited to go to dawnd.com/clarity, and you will be presented with my schedule, and you can set up a complimentary call and we can do a one-on-one and we can explore what's next for you and whether this work is something for you. With that said, if you go to dawnd.com/summer-camp, dawnd.com/summer-camp, you will receive a link to subscribe to this series, and you will get all of the recordings, and you'll have the beautiful gift of doing self-study around executive self-mastery. So Dawn Doherty here, thank you for the gift of joining with me on What's True, and we'll see you at session 3, where we get laser sharp on clarity and setting intention so we can create inspired forward motion. Bye now.